It's almost 11 a.m. I went ahead and did laundry until about 12:30 last night and finished the laundry this morning at 6:30. I then went to my sister's and printed out this massive 93-page pattern that I have to puzzle piece together and then cut out my size. So this is going to be our first adventure. So I'll go ahead and set the fabric aside for now as we focus on this beast of a pattern. I'm gonna need a lot of coffee today. Let's get to it. To demonstrate how to put this pattern piece together, what you'll do is there is a small kind of gap where the pattern starts at the edge of the paper. I'm going ahead and just folding that in, and then you'll match the corner pieces to the corner pieces so that what you get is this nice smooth transition between the pattern pieces. So you just have to fold one side and then match these corner squares. So now I have this great big mess of patterns that I've roughly cut out in order to just make it more manageable. From here, there is a size guide. So based on the measurements of the pattern and the end measurements, you can determine what size you are and follow the key in order to cut out the correct size. So what I think I'm going to do first is actually take a highlighter and highlight the correct line in each of the pattern pieces so that I don't mess up which line I'm actually cutting. I think that that'll just help me a lot visualize the pattern pieces themselves, and then as I'm going, I can better tape the actual pieces to determine if I need to fix any of the boxes, if it wasn't perfect, or things like that. So that is going to be my next step. So here we go. With the pattern pieces complete, next I can do the ironing, so I'll go ahead and heat up my iron, put out the mat, and clean up some of this paper because it's a bit chaotic in here. Great, now all of the fabric has been ironed and we are ready to cut out. So I had a great dinner and I started cutting out, and just look how big this pattern piece is in relationship to my sewing space / like this is the living room in my apartment. Just take a look. I'm like wall to wall almost. And here's the giant pattern piece. That's ridiculous. Oh my gosh, this coat's gonna be huge. Okay. I have changed clothes and it is painting time. It's 9:23 at night. I've just finished out cutting the white pieces specifically. I have Tulip Soft Matte Black Fabric Paint, which is my paint choice just because it sets really nicely. And then I have an example picture of her here. Although, looking at this, I wish the pattern maker had called for the hood to be lined in the black and the Dalmatian on the outside, because the hood in the pattern is black on both sides. And if I had known this, if I'd seen this before, I probably would have cut out hood in the white and painted it as well, because I have plenty of the white fabric, so that's annoying. I'm gonna have to figure out if I want to go back and do that. It's so late though, I'm tired. I don't know, I'll think about that one as I paint these and see how it goes. I could want it in black if I do a horrible paint job, so we'll see. So I'm going to start getting to painting and also figuring out where I'm going to place these giant skirt pieces once I'm done painting. I'm like in the middle of packing for a move, and so I really don't have room for this at the moment. Gotta figure that one out. Good morning. It's 9 a.m. and the fabric has finished drying. I sat up last night though, awake, and just was thinking about the fact that my coat wouldn't be as accurate if the hood wasn't also the white Dalmatian versus the black that the pattern calls for. And since I bought enough fabric to make like 3 of these coats, because I panic bought in Joann's as I was looking on what project to do, and despite the guy at the cut counter asking me, I think 3 different times if I recognized that this was wide fabric when I asked for 9 yards of it, it didn't really hit me at that point in time. So I massively overbought, which means this project is actually relatively cheap with the materials that I'm using, but it means I have plenty of fabric to cut out a hood. So I think this morning I'm going to cut out the outer hood in the white, paint it. The paint says it needs at least 4 hours to dry, so in between that time frame as those are drying, I then can cut out the rest of the fabric, start to put things together, and we'll have plenty of time for that to dry and then be added later. So that's the plan. I'm gonna need a lot of coffee for today. I'm tired. I forgot to hit the record button for all of that, but essentially it's the same process. I just cut out and painted. I'm using different size paintbrushes and kind of just smooshing it into the fabric to create different spots. I don't know why I keep painting on my costumes. I'm really not good at it, but this is like the 4th costume that I've painted in the last few years, so I think it'll look good from far away. Okay, it's now about 1:30 and I just had some lunch, but next I'm going to overlock all the pieces, which is just going to encase the raw edges so that the fabric doesn't fray. So we'll do that next. After a coffee break, it's about 4:30 and all of the fabric is finally prepped and ready to go, and we can put it together. So it doesn't feel like we've made a lot of progress in about 70 hours, but in reality, we're getting to the meat and potatoes, so we're getting pretty close. Just a bit more work until the end, but this is the fun part. This is the exciting part when we finally get to actually see this come together. So let's do it. So we'll stitch along the princess seam first at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. For the next step, I'm going to sew the darts together in the back panels and then iron those towards the side seam. And with our darts finished, we'll go ahead and stitch together center back. And we'll repeat the same thing with the lining. Next, we'll go ahead and attach the outer pieces at the shoulder, as well as the lining pieces, and then press open. Okay, and then next we'll go ahead and do the side seams and press those open as well. Now that the bodices are complete, we'll go ahead and do the sleeves. So we'll start by stitching the side seams together for each sleeve and the lining. Press that open, and then we can attach the sleeves arm's eye into the bodice. I'll tell you what, I think sleeves are my least favorite part of any outfit I make ever. But they're done and we can move on to the hood. For the hood, I'm going to follow the pattern maker's advice and do a pleat rather than a dart in the hood. So I've marked where the dart would be and how much it would take out, but I'm just going to take it, much like we did with the Evil Queen hood, and move this here. I'll pin that down and then just stitch in the seam allowance to hold it down, and we'll just have a bit more volume in the hood than a full dart would give us. I have the pleats in. We then can stitch the back of the hood from the top to the base. Here's to another day of work and coffee. Hopefully I can edit out the construction noise. If not, I apologize. I'm using my phone for a specific reason. You'll probably hear about it later. The next steps for the construction. The lining needs to be attached to the hood, so we'll do that first. Just putting together right sides, stitching it along the front edge, and then ironing. And then we'll move forward from there. So let's get going. Next, we'll go ahead and attach the hood to the outer garment first, and we'll do that by attaching it to the neckline, right sides together, matching up the center back and shoulder seams, and then give it a good press. So now that we have the hood attached to the outer garment, I'm going to attach the lining. The easiest way to see this is to sandwich the sleeves into the middle, as well as the hood, and you'll see where the lining needs to be attached at the front, along the hood to the other front. And we'll do that by placing right sides together and then give it a press and bag out. And with the top done, we can start on the skirt. To start, we'll sew together the center back seam for both the lining and the outer skirt. Next, we'll attach the skirt to the lining at the center front and all the way around the hem. All right, it is day 4 still. It is nighttime. I just got back from a run. So next up, we have to put in the skirt. So we'll do the hem first. So actually, hem first. Then we will put in the waist. We'll attach it to at the waist, and then slip stitch the lining on, and then the sleeves, and then we're done. We're so close. It's been a whirlwind of a project, but we're really close to being done. I'm gonna hit the shower first, and then we'll be ready to sew. Once all of the pressing is done and you've done a lot of ironing, we're going to attach the skirt to the bodice, but attaching both layers of the outer fabric and inner fabric of the skirt to the outside of the bodice only. I'm super excited because we only have a few more steps. The first step is going to be to slip stitch the lining at the sleeve. So we'll do a 1/2 inch turn up of the sleeve, outer sleeve, and slip stitch that in place. And then we'll go ahead and finally slip stitch the waist. So we'll go ahead and match up all of the seams, fold under the bodice lining, pin, and then just slip stitch that in place. And then she'll be complete.
Anticipated dogs. I need to go find more.